Okay, so try it again. Type something now, because I know you're on the face. Can you hear me? Cap Tuesday, Tuesday. Tuesday. Right. Okay, good, great. Before we get started, so you hear me good? So let's get this party started. Oh no, it's still not showing up on the screen. That's crazy. Let me see. Maybe I don't have it to show on screen. Wait a second. Yeah, chat box should be showing. Oh well. Okay, so welcome. Thanks for joining me again. Trying a new thing this episode. I don't believe that I'll have someone that I'll come on and I'll be reading their energy. Unless somebody comes in the chat and says that they would like that, then if time is permitting, then I definitely don't mind doing a little energy reading. But more than likely, we'll probably pick up that again next week. Um, but what I do want to discuss is I feel like there's a need for me to explain what I'm doing a little bit more, or not necessarily explain, but offer a little bit of clarity because there's a little confusion. I do want to talk about, really, for lack of a better word, somewhat of the mind fuck this energy reading and energy manipulation really is. And then I want to talk about something that I see that is becoming somewhat of a thread, a common theme um, going on while I'm trying to help people on this healing process, and I'm on the healing process myself. So one of the first things I want to talk about is what I can compare what I'm doing to, and this actually came from the idea. Well, I was speaking with one of my closest friends, my best friend, and she mentioned that a couple of my other friends were a little bit worried about me. You know what I mean? And from my years of experience working with community and stuff like that, one thing I do know that if you don't put enough information out there, people will find a way to fill in those gaps to make sure that they, you know what I mean, can conceptualize what you are actually doing and what you are going on. And, so because of that, I wanted to be able to address and put some somewhat concrete ideas to this concept. As Facebook reminded me that I need to go live when I am already live. Hey, thanks Facebook, I appreciate that. So one thing that the easiest thing that I feel like I can compare what I'm doing to is alchemy for the most part. And if you are unfamiliar with what alchemy is, alchemy for the most part is a form of thought that tries to transform base metals such as lead or copper into silver or gold. So for the most part, alchemy is a mixing of elements. Although this definition is more about physical elements, alchemy didn't just deal with physical elements. They deal with like gaseous elements, liquid elements, and energy elements as well. And all of those are scientific things that we are a little bit um, familiar with. And one of the reasons I want to explain some of the science behind it a little bit more is this idea of what I'm doing will go against spirituality, religion, or the most interesting idea is applying what I'm doing to the devil. So if you know me, one thing that I can definitely say is I'm not very much of a religious person. I've definitely gone to churches, I've gone to synagogues, I've gone to a lot of different things, but my experience in religion is very unique. You know what I mean? But I do say religion and church was the foundation and the springboard that allowed me to dive further into what it is I am curious about. And ironically, religion made me dive further into science, which I majored in biology, so I'm a scientist by nature and a teacher by heart. So, one thing that I can say, I don't really get into this idea of the devil. You know what I mean? I do believe that there is negative energy out there, but if you know me and you know anything about me, one thing that I wouldn't be doing is one, supporting the devil, whatever your idea is, or supporting putting an energy out there that will be damaging to my people or people in general. So for my whole life, especially my adult life, one thing that I have done as is help people in need, sometimes to a fault. So I definitely do find it a little curious, and I find it a little ironic how quickly people are willing to apply this to the devil. And then I also know, which leads to some of this, is they just don't have enough information and they haven't taken the time to actually look at my videos, because one thing that I have done is been very transparent about this process, and everything that you wind up seeing, you most people have some experience, and especially in the realm of religion, because they have prophetess, they have people who will prophesize over you, which has a level of mysticism that this doesn't necessarily have. You know what I mean? They have people who can speak tongues, they have people who can do all types of things, which lets you know the expansion of energy and the expansion of mind. So I fit up under that umbrella. You know what I mean? And for me, the element that I work with the most just happens to be energy. And as I stated in previous videos, energy is a real thing. As in science, you know, most of science is made up of theoretical ideas, so a ton of theories. But occasionally in science, you run across laws, and laws are theories that have been proven to be right and exact and true within any situation. And one of the theories, or one of the laws that I grabbed onto, was for the three laws of thermodynamics, but specifically the third law, which says energy cannot be created or destroyed, it can only be transferred. So I'm fully aware that energy can be transferred, but the way that we learn about that is through kinetic and the energy of potential energy and the energy of motion for the most part. But energy can do a lot of different things, you know what I mean? So, which we'll discuss a little bit more. So, for the most part, what I am doing and what I'm trying to do is based in science. It has been studied, and I really suggest that you take a little time and try to find out a little more information about yourself, or really just take a little time and scroll down my page, because like I said, one thing that I wanted to do is be transparent about this process, because although I enjoy supporting people and helping people through this process, I do want people to know that I am going through this process myself. So it's not a like you coming to an expert, you know what I mean? You just coming to someone who has tools that you may not have, who can support you in your own healing and your own process. And excuse me, as I stated in a lot before, a lot of times when we talk about this healing process, we make it think we think of it as a lonely road, something we have to do by ourselves, or something where we may include one other person, like a therapist or something like that. But what you will grow to learn is it is more of a group effort. You know what I mean? And some of this healing process comes from random people, or people you may know, or people you get to know. You know what I mean? So you have to be open to um, the process and what you're going to get and receive. All right. So again, for the most part, what I do is just alchemy. It's just mixing up elements to trying to create something new. And in this case, um, the mixing and the movement of energy helps me to create space for people to have new energy, new experiences, and things of that nature to come into their life. So the next thing I kind of want to talk about is the mind fuck of what this Reiki is. And when I say mind fuck, is because energy is not a tangible thing that I can touch. It's not like this paper. It's not like this pen. And we learn so much about energy, for it, whether it be wind energy, electricity, things like that. The one that we are probably the most aware of is lightning as energy. You know what I mean? But for the most part, we aren't taught that you can hold energy in your hand. You know what I mean? So going through this process has been somewhat unique because everyone really has their own individual unique energy. And it's not funny, but I'll say it's funny a lot because that's just an expression of emotion for me and I get it all. But the irony and the mind blowing of it is actually feeling this stuff. You know what I mean? So there are a couple of different types of energies that I have experienced on this path. And one of the first energies that I ever experienced was an oily type energy. And for me, it was like, it was in the Reiki class where I was getting the understanding of what Reiki is supposed to be. But what it was doing for me was, listen, when you start feeling this stuff, one of the main questions that you'll ask is like, yo, is this real? Can somebody else feel it? So as I'm doing Reiki to one of my classmates, I get to like the tips of their fingers. And when I get to the tips of their fingers, I'm a sensory kid. So touching stuff, oh yeah, let me tell you, I got one of my babies on the table today because I am bottom feeding it, so I'm trying to make sure I see when it is actually nice and full. But as I'm working down to her fingers, I get like this oily feeling. And I'm a sensory kid, so the touch of stuff and stuff like that can, for a lack of better words, the best way that I can describe it is sometimes it feels like it's frying my nerve tips. Like, oh my God, it feels crazy. So when I get to her, um, like milking this energy out her fingers, and it feels like all beads on my fingertips where I gotta sling it off, right? And I'm doing it to a person that's new to it like me, and they're in the class. But I'm looking at them and I'm explaining it to them like for me in that situation, I found out that that was pretty much her worry that was attached to her like that and coming off her skin, but coming off her energy and making it feel like oil on my skin. But the thing about it is, we're both so new to it, and I don't know if she can feel what I am doing as well. You know what I mean? But she didn't say anything about it, so I assumed she couldn't feel the oiliness of it, and she just had to use her third eye, her intuition, and trust what we were saying because we're in a place where stuff like that happens. You know what I mean? We're trying to dive more into our gifts and our abilities, so forth, and find out a little bit more. So she didn't even feel it. So then I started doing lives. And when I started doing lives, one of the common feelings I got, and sometimes it just winds up feeling like once I decide that we're going to, once you decide that I could read your energy or something of that nature, I connect with you and I can feel your energy. So one of the main energy types that I was feeling doing the lives, or not necessarily even the lives, but doing the energy readings alone, just doing the energy readings alone, not the Reiki, the laying of the hands part, was a tightness. Like it always felt like a a shirt that's too small, which would actually be the better of the feelings. And then the other feelings were like, imagine wrapping yourself in plastic wrap. Like, what was that darn movie? How to Be a Player. Dude wrapped himself up in plastic. No. Yeah. The one with Tommy Davidson and Tommy Davidson and what's that boy, Jamie Foxx. And that's where old boy wraps himself up in plastic wrap. So either it feels like booty call. There we go. I knew somebody knew. I knew somebody wasn't gonna leave me hanging. But look for it. The energy feels like you would imagine dude feels as he wrapped up in that plastic, or oh my God, how the other energy when I said it feels too tight is what is that movie? Help me out again. It's with the fat guy and the little Tommy boy. Oh my God. So when dude took when the dude took Buddy's jacket and put that little jacket on, he's fat guy in a little coat. Fat guy in a little coat. That's how it felt. And it's wild because people are asking me to read their energy, and I'm reading their energy and then reading their energy because energy can transfer. We already established that's a law. Energy can transfer. I wind up feeling their energy. And I'm questioning myself because this is another level of mind fuck. I done went from this weird ass oily feeling. Now I feel like I'm wrapped in plastic wrap, or I'm a fat guy in a little coat. And I'm wondering if people can feel this. I'm like, but people, what is common that people do feel is a certain air of lightness or a certain energy of clarity after that, but they don't feel the tightness of their energy. They accept it because that's how I'm describing it, but they don't necessarily feel it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm still asking myself, well, maybe I'm tripping, you know what I mean? In the sense that maybe I'm not feeling this stuff that I think that I'm feeling. And but then we get to my shroom trip and me actually laying hands on somebody, doing a live Reiki outside of the training class, you know what I mean? So when I got finished with the Reiki, the first thing that I did was the energy reading. So that was me, you know what I mean, breaking down, splitting up what Reiki is into parts so people can see it's like a step, you know what I mean? So the first step is knowing what your energy is, where you're at, you know what I mean? Getting a little clarity, talking about a few things. But the energy, what I wind up running into next is on my trip, I had a couple people here helping me, right? And in that process of me learning, getting my own clarity, having my own purge session, because they were here, they became a part of this experience. And in them being a part of that experience, I could see some of their pains. And one of the pains I seen looked like a knot, you know what I mean? Which was good because occasionally I'd find when I'm talking to people or when I was doing, sometimes you can feel like this weird knot thing. And I'm like, okay, all right. Do they feel that too? Now, the only idea that I have that people might feel something is occasionally when I lay them hands, you see involuntary movement of their feet, their toes, or their fingers. And I'm like, okay, so maybe they can feel that electricity because low key it kind of feels like electricity. So while I'm going through my own purge ceremony, I see the pain in one of the people here, and it's like a knot, like a big knot in a fist. And I'm like, okay, okay, okay. So I'm crunk. I'm stupid excited because now not only can I feel these pains, I actually see it. So me seeing it is like, okay, so maybe it is real. But for me, it still ain't going to be fully real until like somebody kind of expresses to me what their experience or what they're going through, and and then it came up to me doing some Reiki on a friend, and this was probably the first time I could actually see the knot or see the effects of the knot, although I can't see the knot itself. But it's weird because what happens is like when I start laying hands, I'm just like it's like a massage. It's just a massage with very light pressure or no pressure at all because it's people who just hover their hands on you. So I mean, I do what I do, the heart and stuff like that, and the throat and the third. I mean, for your intuition and stuff like that. And I'm touching, and occasionally I start feeling like people have an energy, and then it feels like it's something weirdly attached to their energy, or my intuition is like, hey, something going on here, so stay here. And as I got my way up to this person's heart, I know that is one of the places that they keep a lot of their pain because once I read their energy, you know what I mean, we knew their heart was a little bit closed. But when I got up there, it was like I found a knot and it was like a circle in their chest, right? So with me put my hands on it, all I'm doing is just moving it. And it feels like, like when you down to the last little bit of the toothpaste, or you trying to squeeze something out the bag and you gotta squeeze from the bottom, but you're just pushing it out. Like you can feel it. Like I can feel like a knot under the cup. So I'm moving it up, I'm moving it up, I'm moving it up, and I can see when it gets to their throat because of how they're reacting. And at this point, this person wasn't ready to release what was ever coming out. And more than likely, at that point, it was a cry. You know how you get that lump in your throat from holding back your tears? We literally were sitting there looking at this lump in their throat, holding back. And it was funny because as I moved my hands up, you see it come up, and you even see them like, oh my God, I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, is this really happening? Like you see them questioning, is this really happening? Like, are they actually feeling what they're feeling? And I'm like, yo, can you feel that? Because I can see it. And a lot of times people's eyes are closed, so they don't always see unless I tell them, okay, open your eyes. And when I'm doing Reiki, I let people do what they feel is comfortable. The only time that I really do try to say, hey, open your eyes, is when I'm using the pendulums that y'all feeling to read their energy after I've laid hands. Then I want them to see how the pendulum works in real life because it does. So it was wild to see that knot in their throat and me moving it out, and it really needed to come out their mouth, which is wild. And we had a conversation about it, and it was like, yeah, it felt like a knot was in my throat. And that is a brain fuck for them too, because I'm like, yo, can you really feel this energy? I'm looking at it, they can really feel it, and it's not like we have anything in our hands. None of this stuff is actual visible. Like we can't see it, but you can feel every bit of this stuff going on, and it feels unique. Sometimes it feels a little crazy. I mean, it really does feel crazy. So, knot was a type of energy, and the knot energy winds up really being the easiest because you can move that around to wherever it needs to go and get that thing out. And the last kind of energy that I've been running across lately has been an energy where it is the experience, the situation, the whatever, um, changed them has become intertwined in their energy, almost as though that negative situation or that negative experience has become a part of their DNA. And the best way I can describe how it feels and how it looks is like fruit stripe gum or Neapolitan ice cream with the strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate. It looks like stripe. And the last energy with the intertwined, the one how it was so unique because it kind of felt like um, computer code. You know, like when you watch them crazy movies and always got computers, always this scene where like computer code is kind of just drizzling down the screen. Don't mind my sound effects. I know I ain't the best at that, but it looked like the computer code was dripping, and that's what their energy felt like. It felt like it was just raining down, and the situation was so a part of them. It had become. It seemed like it's just a part of their DNA. It had become their identity. You know what I mean? And it was unique. Okay, so for this situation, it was we were able to work on that. You know what I mean? But the intertwine is the most unique one because it really does feel like whatever that person is holding on to, they have allowed to be it to become the definition of who they are, and they hold on tightly. And that actually brings me to the next thing that I wanted to talk about, because what they are doing is really a something that is very, ironically, is common. Hold on, give me 1 second. Get this off the screen. Find already. All right. So the thing when the pain becomes intertwined, I mean, the pain becomes intertwined in their spirit, it really does become their pain identity. And the wild thing about it, as I'm talking about these different types of feelings, the one thing that is very difficult for me to express is how it's really not their energy. It really feels like something that has attached to their energy. So, like when I said the knot, people have this energy all over their body, but then there's this one space that's attached to their energy. Or, like I said, the intertwine, it winds up, like I said, well, the most complex, but it's something that's attached to their energy that they allow to um, become their identity. And when processing that, yup, exactly, like a, okay, so for some people, it definitely does become like a cloak, but it's I guess it's kind of like I don't know if people really into Spider-Man, but with Spider-Man you got the choice of the web slinger attachments that go on your arm, or you get the web slinger to be a part of your body. So and it kind of changes your DNA structure and who you are. So this trauma, this event, this experience winds up being like the web slinger inside the body, and now they're Spider-Man because of this experience. However, and a lot of times the experience may be negative, but the experience they've taken a negative thing and allowed it to do some positive things. But unfortunately, it's still a negative pain that they've allowed to become their identity. And it makes me think of a few examples. So one example, I have a friend. Woo, I won't say their name, but one thing that I remember when they were dating their baby father, and they was with this guy for 6 years or so. And I remember we'd occasionally talk and she was very clear that this dude would not be a good father. You know what I mean? She was very clear that she was even curious on how much of a good boyfriend he was. And she could clearly, excuse me, vocalize all of this stuff. So me being a friend, I assume by her being able to vocalize all this stuff, that is the first step to removing yourself out of these situations. But then what winds up happening is at this point she don't have any kids with him. He already has kids and she can see what kind of father he is and she's saying she don't want to have kids with him and because they've been together so long and she hasn't got pregnant, she's telling herself that she probably can't get pregnant, although she doesn't have any type of verification of this. So, you know what I mean? Assume you can until you find out you can't. You know what I mean? Um, so she wound up having a child with him, and of course, he wound up being the father he's always been. And now, when you discuss this with her, it changes tremendously. It has changed to she didn't know, she had no idea, and all this stuff. And I know for a fact she knew because she would talk to anyone about it. Even when she tell me what her other friends would say, her other friends were already like, well, you knew, you know what I mean? But the interesting thing about her is one of the pain that she allowed to be her identity is her family. So when things don't necessarily go the way she does or she thinks it should or um try challenging situations where she knows she needs to be a different person, but to allow her to take on this identity of, for lack of better words, a victim, she still blames her parents. She still says that she was raised in a toxic environment and because of that, this is why she's making the decisions that she is. And that's 40, and she's 40 years old. And I find that ironic because her parents are still married. She was married, raised in a two-parent household, and those parents and her parents still married. But something along that experience she didn't identify with, and it created pain in her. And because of that, she allowed that pain and that experience to become her identity. That when even she make that, even as an adult, she still isn't ready to take accountability for her choices or her decisions, and it allows her to stay complacent. Because even in the face of an opportunity to address some of those concerns, she will clearly tell you, I'm not trying to get better. So, and I understand in some aspect on why, because it's a little scary. So, one of the things, like I said, let me see, I got some stuff on here. So that's something else. So, like I was stating earlier, the pain doesn't necessarily change the core of who you are. You still are who you are. But whatever that experience is, it just attaches to your your fear. You know what I mean? And going on to another one, I know a person who, by all appearances, if you were to look at this person, interact with this person, you would naturally assume that this person is what society describes as a stud, right? And you know, there's certain expectations that come along with that description, and you would assume that she fits into those expectations, but she does not. She is not a stud. She doesn't identify as that or anything. But what has happened with this person, the experience that they endured forced them to create a persona that would protect them more than likely from unwanted advances. You know what I mean? And one of the easiest ways to feel like you are protecting yourself is how you carry yourself and how you dress. So you don't want to be in no lie. And this is an example. I messed with a girl one time who mama owned a liquor house, right? Very interesting. And as you tell, I like polo, so I got a lot of polo, and it don't mean shit about where I'm from or what I'm about. I just like polo. I said when I get to the point to get some polo, I'm gonna get me some polo. And I remember when I go kick it at the liquor house, of course I'm G'd up in polo, but they generally wear urban fashions, you know what I mean? And I don't know why people don't see polo as urban fashion, because it is, but some people don't, you know what I mean? So it ain't the trendy name brands of urban fashion. So when I would go to the liquor house, they would think I was something totally different. They was like, you bougie, you bougie. Then after I took like 3 shots and laughed with them, they figured out I was like them, you know what I mean? So the image that I created is for the environment that I interact in mostly. So I can see the easiest way to protect yourself or not to seemingly not make yourself a target is to change your image. All right. And then the last example I'm going to use of how the pain attaches, and I'm going to tie it into how I understand why these people hold on to that identity because of the next thing I'm going to talk about. So in my life, I had somewhat of, I call him, he wasn't necessarily absentee because I knew who he was. I could talk to him. If I needed to reach out to him, I could find him, although we went through periods where I didn't know where he was. But I had for lack of better words, a sometimes addict. Right? So in experiencing that, I vowed that when I become a man, I'm going to be like this. So what I felt like I had with my father is the example of what not to be like. So my whole identity was based on being the opposite of him. You know what I mean? So I felt like I did a good job. You know what I mean? And my pops did a lot of good things. You know what I mean? But I simplified the man of who he is, the totality of the man, to who he was to me as a father. And even though adults, we get these other titles, whether it be mother, father, auntie, uncle, under that, we are still just human beings trying to make it. You know what I mean? But I limited my father from being a man, from being a human, to just being a dad. And he struggled at being a father, although he can be a lot of good things, like a good soldier. So then my pops died, and I'm out here in this world like, holy shit. I have no idea who I am or what I'm doing because my main example of what not to be is gone. So now there's like half of me here and then this other half of emptiness and unknown and for lack of better words, what the fuck am I going to do? Because I don't know who I am because so much of who I am was based on not being like him. So what winds up really happening when it comes to this releasing and this pain identity and why people hold on to it is what I said I experienced with my father. So what I experienced with my father was the unknown. You know what I mean? And when you create this identity, you do become aware that if you put this identity down, who are you? What are you? What will you be? Where will you go? It leaves you with more questions. And that is scary because when you don't have answers, sometimes it makes you feel like you just left to the whims of life. And that's scary, especially after you created a routine. So like for me, my pops didn't die till I was 40, right? So for damn near 40 years, I've lived with this person. And with the other people, like I said, the first story, she's 40. She lived like that 40 years. So you've lived as this person, as this experience, as this identity for longer than you have not. You don't know what life is like without it. You don't know, you don't know. You know what I mean? And then we wind up listening to stuff like the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know, which is more of a fear mongering statement because who's to say it's a devil at all? This idea of the devil can be crazy, and a lot of times it's used to manipulate and to squash people's dreams. You know what I mean? So it was crazy. So knowing this, I fully understand why people are afraid to let go, because then it really does feel like you're left with nothing. You know what I mean? And the next thing, what is that? Is the good thing about that is what a lot of people don't. Why is it not showing? Okay, there we go. A lot of people don't realize is to make space for new, you have to clear out the old. And we think about that in terms of clothes, we think about that in terms of material items. But we don't really think about that in terms of energy. But there is definitely freedom in loss. So when I went through that experience with my pops, like people talk to me now, and one of the best compliments I'm getting now is Peanut, because that's one of my names. My people call me Peanut. Is that I sound free. And I remember the first time I heard that, I almost argued with the person, but then I realized I am free. But my freedom came in loss. And some of that loss is foundationally is what makes us feel secure. But what winds up happening is that freedom in loss, once you create that space, you have space for new experiences and new puzzles to solve. Because one thing I can say is it doesn't necessarily get easier, but you get, like I said, new experiences. And one perfect example for of me for that is through these lives. You know what I mean? So I've done a lot of work. So I did a lot of clearing of space. So I do have a lot of emotional space. I got a lot of physical space. I got a lot of space to incorporate new people, new ideas, new experiences, and that space also allows me the time to be able to process these experiences. So the new experience that these lives give me is a different level of support. And I tried to talk about this in that last live, but I think my mic was so terrible. It kind of sounds like what somebody said the last one. It sounds like I'm a DJ in the club, so it just had this weird little echo. But one of, like I was saying, one of the things, the new experiences outside of this live itself being a new experience, because if you know me, people think I'm extroverted, but I'm really an introverted person. I just like to chill. I like to be to myself, all of those things. But one thing I am is afraid of missing out. So I will adopt extroverted skills to be able to enjoy life and experience life. And I'm not using my introvertedness as an excuse. Um, so what was it? The freedom and loss. So with the absence of my, oh no, talk about the new experience. So now I'm doing these lives and I'm getting support from, because most of the people who go on the lives or watch the lives at this point on Facebook specifically are people who actually know me. Either they know me in real life or They have been my Facebook friend for 10 years at this point, so they do have some idea of the type of man I am. Because as weirdly as it is, as an introvert, I really am an open book. So when I used to look at support, I've always had levels of support. But there was a level of support that I was envious of, where you see like people who go to the NBA or go to any type of professional for sports or make it big, and they giving shouts out to the people that supported them. One common theme that came up, especially in sports that are activities that males are attached to, was the support of somebody coming to every game. I remember even when I went to college, my college roommate was a hooper, you know what I mean? And he would talk about how his mama came to every game. And I used to be like, yo, I've never had someone to support me so much that they're at everything I do, right? So now I got these lives, and I have a friend that is on every single live like clockwork. And I love it because it gives me the experience that I always wanted, in the sense that I never had that level of experience. But also, in like I said, with losing and creating a new space, it creates a new puzzle. Because now I have to process these new emotions. Because this is an experience that I wanted to have, and I'm having it, but it definitely does create new feelings, new emotions, and new everything that I have to process. And that also can make people a little hesitant to let go, because of their pain has become their identity. But for me, I'm loving the new experiences. I'm doing a bunch of little things. I'm meeting new people. Hey man, listen, I'm out here laying hands, doing purge ceremonies, all types of things, and people are actually coming to me because they feel like I can help, and I definitely do my best to help. I know they may have been on at some point, or they'll come on a little later, or I plan on interviewing them. But one person that I recently did Reiki on, it was probably one of the most amazing experiences, and something I do want to talk about. So, from doing the Reiki on this person, they taught me probably one of the most amazing lessons ever. So as I'm laying hands on them, something in my intuition tells me to put my forehead on them, my third eye. So I put my forehead on them. And I don't know, but my forehead must have been like like a metal detector. I don't know, but it worked like a goddamn detector, and I found their anger. And it was wild because when they talk about it, you can hear my breathing change. It was like, as a matter of fact, you can hear me talking about it. You can see the passion in me, like, listen, I can feel their energy coming, I mean, their anger coming out, right? And I'm telling them it's okay to be angry. But in that meantime, you hear me like, I'm breathing like this. And what they're not aware of, what I am kind of aware of, when I went through my own purge ceremony, one of the things that I learned is two things that I'll be able to really help people with is pain and anger. You know what I mean? Because one thing that I was hurt, so I carry some pain. And one thing that I am is an angry person, to the point where whenever I say that to people, they be like, people who know me, and I'm like, yeah, because I'm real angry. Everybody's kind of like, yeah, you are kind of an angry guy. You know what I mean? So connecting to people's anger and helping pull that out was great. So as I'm feeling it, and I'm like, I'm breathing crazy, and you know what I mean. So at this point, they say they feel like the anger is leaving them. You know what I mean. And I sage them, I charge them back up, because one thing I don't want to do is, if we going through a purge ceremony, I don't want you to leave the ceremony feeling as low as you can go in the ceremony. And what I mean by low is emotionally vulnerable. You know what I mean? I want to make sure you charged up by the time you go. But after I did this, man, listen, I couldn't even sleep that night. I just kept thinking about this girl, thinking about this girl. She was like, it was almost like this girl was haunting me, and not in no weird. And it was a new experience because for me, it wasn't like an attraction type of on my mind. Like I want to be with her, and I was like, it's just something I need to figure it out. And after thinking about it a little bit, what I realized, because as humans, we got pheromones. So emotions produce pheromones, smells. You know what I mean? And also, we know sometimes we smell stuff that we can taste it. So what I really realized, what was driving me crazy was her energy, her anger, and I can think about it right now. It smells and tastes like cotton candy, your favorite ice cream, and I forgot the other thing. Dang. But she'll wind up reminding me because I told her. And I just kept on thinking, I was like, oh my God, her anger tastes so sweet that I had to have a conversation with her. When I told her about it, I was able to sleep like a baby after that. It was all good. That was a part of our experience that I needed to get out. But the thing about this that I really wanted to wrap this up with was what I told her was you got to be careful because if I found out that your pain, cotton candy, there we go. I told you she was gonna tell me cotton candy, cake, and your favorite ice cream. Thank you for joining in just in time, just to tell me that. Good God Almighty. So it tastes like cotton candy, cake, and your favorite ice cream. But knowing that, that actually gives her power because now, like what I said is, I'm like, you got to be careful because I know there are people in your life who will make you angry just so they can have that taste and that smell. And we can't see it, so us as humans, we won't know. And we're out here in life, we're not thinking that, well, we're humans and we're mammals, so we're actually releasing pheromones at any moment of the day to attract and detract the opposite species. So all of that is true, but we're not necessarily thinking about that. And for her, what I found out is her anger tastes delicious. It tastes delicious. So when she runs into other angry people who aren't helping, but actually living in their anger and creating angry situations so they can survive, then they would actually create situations just to make her angry. And she would fall into that trap every time because she doesn't know. She didn't know. I told you that energy tasted delicious. Delicious. Where I know it probably, now that we talk about it, I know she avoids it. But up until us talking about it and us talking about how delicious, I know it was not a day that went by that someone did not try to make her a little bit angry. And they may not have been aware of it themselves. Because, a lot of our actions are based on conscious and unconscious behaviors. All right. So those are a couple of things I did want to address. And the last thing I think I want to do is I want to just show y'all. What is that? All right. Show y'all a couple of the tools I use. I know I mentioned it. I posted a recent video because over the weekend we just did a purge ceremony for one of the Reiki specialists, one of the Reiki practitioners in my class. But in an effort to take away a lot of mysticism, I want to show some of the stuff that I actually use. One thing that is not going to happen if I come to your place, you come to my place, or we meet in neutral grounds. You're not going to be in there where people are speaking spells or, it's not going to be no hocus pocus. I don't know none of that bullshit. Excuse my language, but I don't know none of that bullshit, nor would I attach myself to any of that bullshit because I ain't trying to manipulate people like that. So everything that you see will be, well, not everything. Most of the stuff that you see will be something that is familiar to you. You know what I mean? So y'all been on my live before. You guys already know the pendulums. You see how they work. I just hold them, they dangle and spin. You know what I mean? But one of the things, like I've always been attached to music. I'm a water sign, so I like things that moves in waves. Whether I was conscious of it or not, I always was attracted to things that move in waves. So I use instruments that create wave sounds. So I have these things here. So these are called wave drums. So they're called wave drums. They look like tambourines. They pretty much are fancy tambourines. Except what you could do with tambourines, you can beat them like a drum. Now, for me, one doesn't sound like a wave crashing against the shores, but when I stack them up, it really does. So, that's one. One more. Hopefully that's not too loud on the ears. So wave drums, they wind up creating wave sounds because I like the vibrations to be consistent with water and waves because I like waves. Now, most people are familiar with these things. I put them in individual bags so people can pick what they want. It's sage for the most part. Like, you know what I mean? That's just like an incense to help clear the air. This one right here is I allow people to pick. I don't know if you probably can't see the letters, but I can show you the sage. This one is love and balance, which really works. The first time I used it, I felt empowered and in love. I don't know. It just definitely gave a loving feeling, and it was a great day. A great time my first time I used that. And then I have happiness and harmony, which is this lavender. This is pretty much sage with, you see the colors on it. The colors are rose petals, different rose petals. This is pretty much a lavender to create certain calmness, and it's happiness and harmony. So this bundle of sticks, I haven't even used that yet. Don't nobody want happiness or harmony at all. They want, don't nobody care about happiness or harmony. They just care about love and passion, which I enjoy because I'm definitely trying to find my passion again. That's one of the things I lost on my own. And they definitely like energy and balance. And energy and balance will definitely charge you up. It had me going crazy. That one said some dragon's blood, but no, it don't have no real dragons in it. It's just red. Nah. And there you go. So sage, I make sure I sage myself. I sage you. I sage the crib. We open the windows and make sure we don't keep all that weird energy boxed up in the crib. Something else I use, I just really got call me ukulele son. Now I'm gonna probably have to trade this in because you hear that? That C sounds terrible, and you can hear it when I try to play because this is all I learned, and it's gonna be terrible. So yeah, I'm learning to play some songs to help with that. But most of the time, how I wind up using the ukulele is to find the rhythm of the person, and then I wind up finding that groove and then playing that shit over and over. Now, the one thing that most people probably haven't seen, is one that if you are, now this is of choice, but if you are choosing it, depending on, this is one that we specifically, I use that other stuff in Reiki ceremonies or anything. But this is one that we specifically use in purge ceremonies, and it's called Hape. And Hape, for the most part, is a ceremonial tobacco ground it into a powder with a couple of other herbs, and you take that and it initiates the purge process. And it's wild. For me, I took it and it was wild because it felt like my nose was burning for a little bit because it was burning. And at some point, my nose stopped burning, and those tears from that burn was a real cry. And I was like, oh my God, why am I crying? And other people have had all types of weird experience. So I get a little hape. This one is Force of the Waters. Remember I told you I'm a water sign, so I like water. And then I have one, which was ironic, this Divine Mother Rose. Of course it has some rose in there. But I've been running into a lot of mom issues, whether it be issues with the mother that raised them or issues with being a mom, you know what I mean? Because it definitely comes with its own concerns and all of that stuff. Yeah, so I got that. So anybody wants to work on some of their mom issues, that's what it's for. And of course, I got a massage bed, so yeah, so you get to lay down because we actually do make it comfortable when we want to lay hands. And that is a little bit of the things that we use to help people heal. And it's wild how it all comes together to create an environment that you can actually release. You will be more vulnerable than you have ever been in your life. And unfortunately, one of the mind fucks that you experience is you cannot control it. You will try your best to fight it, but you will feel it, and if you don't go with it, it will bother your conscience for a long time until you have the experience again, go with it and release whatever was trying to get out of you. All right. So thank you. All right, before I go, I'm gonna ask, does anyone want to have this? Don't mind me. I know I'm tripping a little bit. All right, I'll give you 13 seconds. Let me play some. I got some music for that. Let me see if y'all want to listen. What is that? No, I think I want some teats. I know it ain't nothing but faith. Let me see. I appreciate your faith. Yeah, you know what? I want to do. I did switch. I initially did start on Thursdays, but that's because I forgot football is on Thursdays because I don't watch sports. To me, I was a person who would rather play sports. So just sitting around watching, will I watch them? Yeah. If I'm hanging out with the fellas, I go to a bar, I'll watch all the games. But thinking I'm about to take my time on my day to sit down and watch other people have fun, no thank you. I'm going to have fun myself. So you better off asking me, do I want to join your football team than watch it? But I didn't want to compete with football because I know who's going to take that L. Joe Soy. See, I do know a little Spanglish. Yeah, Joe Soy was going to take that L, so I moved it to Tuesdays because Tuesdays doesn't really compete with too many sports such as Sunday, Monday, Saturday, Friday, Thursday. So I really only had Tuesday or Wednesday. So I did that. But I am going to start doing something again on Thursday. But I think I will do that on, well, I know it may be on Facebook. But Facebook won't be the channel that I use to do it. I think I'm going to go on YouTube. And I'm just going to do some readings. People say I have a soothing voice. So I'm going to do it, and I'm just going to start reading people like this. Maybe that sounds sexy. Maybe that'll help you go to sleep. I don't know. Well, hopefully it'll help you feel like you are empowered and you can do some great things with you. You see how that makes you feel? You see how that makes you feel? I see how that I do, right? So that's what I'm gonna do. So on Thursdays, I'll probably pump that up, but it's gonna be when I do these streams, I put Facebook as the main stream. So we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch currently, but Facebook is the main stream. So when I do the next one, YouTube more than likely, when I do the live book readings, stuff like that, YouTube will probably be the main one. YouTube, yeah, will probably be the main one, and then the other ones will be side. So you'll be able to watch it on anything. But yeah, that's the next level that I'm gonna go to. I'm just going to, you know what I mean, try to use this throat chakra and make some things happen. All right. So I keep looking at that cotton candy, cake and ice cream. Ain't that a weird? That has to be the weirdest thing to hear your energy taste like your favorite ice cream. Because that ice cream, I still think about it now and just keep changing flavors. So, you know what? I think maybe if I could talk ahead to next week within these next couple of weeks, I'm gonna let her come on here and talk about her experience from the other side because it was wild. And there are probably things that she could share that I wouldn't feel right sharing because it's her experience. So, but it was dope. All right, so I appreciate y'all supporting me. We'll be here again next week, same time, or watch it whenever you can. I'm gonna make some clips. We're gonna do some things, and again, like I said, I thank you, and thanks for not. See you next week. Bye, y'all.